I will talk not about Innovation Commons as it's said in the agenda. I will talk more about the context for Innovation Commons and the way that I reached to this kind of concept and have been working with it. And my name is Kjell-Håkan Närfelt. I work with strategy issues at Vinnova. And I think it relates very well to the introduction Michaela made right now. And when we met in Brussels last fall, talking about commons, which I said, Michaela, you made my day, because it's not usually I meet people that are so insightful in these matters as Michaela. So the starting point, I will make a claim. And I will try to motivate that claim, that if you have an innovation policy perspective and want to use innovation to transform societies and the economy towards a sustainable future or exploit emerging technologies and create new markets, then we need a new innovation policy framework. That's my claim. And I think this fits very well. Michaela has manifested this in her introduction and a lot of things that she has been doing over the years. And having this starting point, we have to discuss about innovation policy versus transformative innovation policy. What's the difference? Well, innovation policy has always had innovation as an objective because of its importance for renewal of industry and organizations, to create competitiveness and foster economic growth. So it has been really a technological and commercial phenomena. It started really about 25 years ago. Before that, we only had research policy and industrial policy. Now, if we move to transformative innovation policy, in my view, it started with I would say with the Lunda Declaration in, I think it was 2009, when it was claimed that we have all these societal challenges that we're facing on the planet. And the traditional ways we have been working with policy don't really address those challenges very well. So we need to use innovation to address the societal challenges, as this was more emphasized in 2015 when the SDGs came along from the UN. And the reason is, of course, that innovation changes behavior in people. So now we want to use innovation to change people's behavior in such a way that we create a more sustainable future. So so now innovation policy is not only a technological and commercial phenomenon, it's an ecological and societal phenomena. And you have also to remember that it's transformative innovation has always been around, changing people's behavior, the social media, mobile phone, PC, internet, railways, cars, electricity, and so on. But within transformative innovation policy, we are intentionally trying to use innovation to change people's behavior. And that's new. And that's something else than innovation policy with its objective, where innovation is an objective. Talking about transformative innovation policy, we also lead to the concept of system innovation. Previously, with the innovation policy, we've been talking about part innovation, goods, services, business models, organizational changes. That's what I call part innovation. It has been the focus of innovation policy. With transformative innovation policy, we see that we need to change systems. And innovation, in my view, is defined that it's novel and useful value creation, usually focused then on products. Now, with transformative innovation, we talk about innovation on a system level. That is novel and useful value creation on a system level. And that's also something new that has been brought in through the focus on transformative innovation policy. And when we move into the system innovation sphere, we are entering a completely new path for innovation policy. And let me explain the challenges we have, because it's an implementation challenge. When we look at system innovation now, from a systemic point of view, we are not talking about satisfying customer needs or individual customer needs or the competitiveness of an organization. We are talking about changing socio-technical systems. That is the interaction between people and technical systems. And that's something else than has been addressed by innovation policy. When you are addressing these kind of things, you are getting into wicked problems, like fighting poverty, creating peace in the world, fighting criminality, health diseases, pandemics and such. They are systemical kind of challenges. So it's not, you cannot by changing a single part get a solution. Usually if you find a solution to what you think is the problem changes. And now you have to find a new solution. So it's a wicked problem. And this also creates a genuine uncertainty on you cannot analyze the outcomes. You can only experience it. I usually say success can never be analyzed in this kind of context. It can only be experienced. And the reason for all this is that this is from a theoretical point of view, complex adaptive systems. Most of what we are doing is usually like engineering based. It's complicated systems where expertise can analyze ex ante system behavior if they have the expertise to understand the system. Now, complex adaptive systems are completely different. You cannot analyze it. You can probe and experiment with it, but you cannot analyze it ex ante. And there's some properties that creates this difficulty, and one is emergent properties. That is, the system has properties that you cannot find in the parts. Our body is a complex adaptive system. For example, if you are looking for Kjell-Håkan in my body, you can cut me in all the smallest pieces, but you can never find Kjell-Håkan there. It's emergent property on my body. And this is also on the societal and the economical side. And this creates also a problem because these kind of systems, they have nonlinear system behavior. That is, the same input can give completely different outputs. So for example, if a car would be a complex adaptive system and you put 10-liter petrol in its tank, it can go 10 kilometers one day, 50 kilometers another day, 1 kilometer another day. So depending on the state the system is when the input is received. And this creates non-predictive system outcomes. You can, in some cases, ex post determine the causes of a certain outcome, but you can never use in a predictive way for the future. And when you work with innovation policy in these kind of situations, you cannot do it in a classical way, because these kind of systems require collective action. Collective action where you share directionality, where you share lessons learned, where you share assets that help you solve these societal challenges. So it's really a collective action kind of approach we need to have. That's one of my premises here. Now, if we look at the part innovation, we can see innovation as a transformative engine, and usually we use this incremental, radical, disruptive, game-changing, in my view, a very confusing way. And this is my way of bringing some sort of sense in all these terms. So I claim that incremental and radical changes, those are on the product dimension or product perspective, technological perspective. Now, if we talk about changing markets and societies, we talk about sustaining and disruptive. And to give some examples from Apple, iMac, which was the first PC that Steve Jobs, during his second period as CEO, introduced as the first product, one could claim an innovation with its transparent frames and such. But it was only an incremental improvement of pieces, even if you regard it as an innovation. And it was sold as a PC, sustaining kind of innovation from a market and societal point of view. The iPod was the first MP3 player that could have like 10,000 songs, which was Jobs' vision because of its hard disk. It was a radical change of MP3 players, but it was sold only as a better MP3 player. So it was a sustaining kind of innovation from a market and societal point of view. iTunes was an incremental improvement at best of a jukebox software. And even Apple was first trying to license the software, but as Apple has the culture that everybody else does crap, so they made it themselves. So it was an incremental product improvement, but its linkages to the music industry, which for the first time allowed you to download legally music into your PC for 99 cents or whatever, that was really a disruptive change of the market on consuming music. And of course, the iPhone was a radical change of a mobile phone, because it was not a mobile phone, it was a PC in your hand. And its linkages to the app community with its app store and things like that change really, it was a disruptive change of the market. In my view, these sustaining things are driven by R&D. But if you look at the disruptive engagement, it's always driven by changing the way you do business, the business model, and more importantly, it changes the ecosystem. It's about ecosystem innovations, which links to the previous slide I had. So now we have three key premises. One is that to transform a prevailing social technical regime, it's about disruptive system innovation. Now, disruptive system innovation implies always the development of new innovation ecosystems. You have to do ecosystem innovation. But in doing that, disruptive system innovation, in my view, also requires finding a balance between cooperation and competition. If you only have competition, you will not be effective. If you only have cooperation and collaboration, it's not effective either. So you have to find this kind of balance between competition and cooperation. And when you look at how you transform a socio-technical regime, this is a sketchy picture of Gell's model. You have three phases. You have the formation phase, where you really do a lot of experiment and nobody knows what will work and will not work. You experiment. Some of them scale and becomes successful, and sometimes they success in changing the prevailing socio-technical regime. And from a policy point of view, we always discuss how can we initiate this kind of disruptive transformation? How can we scale up these? How can we make sure that the scaling is changing the prevailing regime? And in doing this, I would say that the policy consequences is that it's not about market or systemic failure due to underinvestments in innovation development, because that's the way we have been working. We are still working. We think that it's underinvestments in innovation, so we have to in some way stimulate, incentivize innovation development. We don't have the right networks. Academia is not working with industry or whatever, so we need these kind of systemic failures to be addressed, so they work together in a new way and such. Now, when we are working with system innovation and this kind of ecosystem changes, it's about entrepreneurial discovery and resource coordination problem, addressing what we need to know, who we need to engage, and in what way we need to do it. So it's really you cannot address it by addressing underinvestments. You have to try to find a solution to the entrepreneurial discovery problem and the resource coordination for then scaling it. And this links to the way we do funding today. Today, I would claim that most of the funding I see in EU and in Sweden and regional, nationally, or on EU level, it's about consortia. We have actors that we want to force into consortia in order to really, once again, get down the risk together, to work with under investments in innovation development. And these actors develop R&I, research and innovation project, creating artifacts that are proprietary. And I would claim that this model doesn't really solve the entrepreneurial discovery problem, that it doesn't solve the ways we need to work collectively to create system innovation. I think the new model we need to embrace much more is the following. We need to focus on communities, create actors working in communities, and don't create tribes, because in a community, competition is allowed and collaboration is allowed. If you only allow collaboration, then you are a tribe. if you fight competition. So you have to embrace competition and collaboration within the community. These actors do actions, but the actions are addressing new ecosystem or ecosystem innovations that support the systemic change we want to take place. And they create artifacts, and more important, especially in the formation phases, is the commons, not the proprietary assets. The common assets that allows us to stand on our shoulders and not on each other's toes. To really we share the lessons learned and so on. So the role of innovation commons in this kind of transformative journeys is the following, and these are examples by Jason Potts and the upper end, and Erkko Autti on the AI stack from Google, where they talk about digital technology commons, because they use commons to orchestrate their ecosystem. So the first role of innovation commons is really to reduce the transactions cost to collect and get access to knowledge you need to exploit an emerging market or create a systemic kind of change or system innovation. The second role is what Michaela was talking about, is create a foundation for interoperability between parts, because no single organization or single consortia will solve these challenges. So we have to create interoperability between parts, systemic part or part innovations, and existing parts to constitute the system. And we have to create a foundation for distributed development so that different teams can contribute to the development of a common system, regardless of differences in time and space. So these are the role of the commons. And we have been funding a pre-study on innovation commons that has resulted in these 5 reports. I think there's a code there for if you're interested in downloading them. Some of them I might believe is in English. Most of them are in Swedish. And the pre-study try to answer what I've been talking about, what is innovation commons. 3 really important aspects of innovation commons: the governance of innovation commons, the funding of innovation commons, including the legal aspects like state aid and such. State aid is done for a competitive environment where you work with underinvestments and market failures and systemic failure. The state aid rules are not made for entrepreneurial discovery problems, which I think we have to be able to address when we are working with transformative innovation policy. And it's also about how do you develop innovation commons? What kind of paradigms do you need when you develop innovation commons? There's some implementation implications that are important that I've been working for some time. And one is that governance is key. And there's 2 dimensions of governance. One is the degree of openness in who can contribute. Like you have the church where you are only the members are only allowed to interpret, for example, the Bible. You have the shop where somebody is providing the value creation, and then you have sub-suppliers. You have the mall where you have rules, but many shops, as long as you follow the rules of the mall. You have the standardization body like in Internet Task Force or the CCITT, or where they create the commons, or you have the complete open market where everybody can contribute in any way. And then you have the degree of openness where you control the development, the dictatorships or the experts or the voting or the complete anarchy. So this is and there's no fit. It's not, you don't have the blueprint or this is the right way. There's different solutions for different commons. So this is an important aspect to look into when you develop and maintain commons. Another one is the funding. Most of funding that is taking place in innovation funding is following a research funding logic. You look at the problem and you look at the expertise. Do you have the right expertise? Do you have the right approach to create the right solution for the problem? But you don't look at the sustainability, the long-term sustainability. Who will take care of the maintenance? Who will take care of that is really scaling and such? So it's more like almost a consultancy way. The consultant is not responsible for the utilization of the result. It's the customer. And in research funding, it's not the researcher. and we are using this model and it doesn't fit commons, you should use an investment logic where you really focus on what happens after the development has taken place. Where does the community, does it exist or not? Does it really have the use of this and such things? Who do they need to attract in order to be able to create a sustainable operational model for the commons and such? So we need to have an investment logic. And the fun thing is when you look at then the outcomes or valuation of outcomes, then you use more of a research approach, because price as value is not a good way to look at the valuation of commons. In my view, it's the use as value that is important. In what way is it used, in how many applications, those determines the value of the commons, not the price. In the implementation, we should use entrepreneurial discovery, and the entrepreneurial discovery is characterized by the following. First, it's not about prediction. It's about non-predictive control. It's much more working like a good chef. Chefs are not following recipes. They rely on their control of the way they make dishes and food. So it's a non-predictive control. Because you cannot predict it, you have to experiment. It's an experimentally driven learning process rather than a development project, where the learnings have to drive the choices you make. It's not about resource allocation. I have to get it's a fundraising, and then I get money, and then I allocate it like you learn in MBAs. It's about resource attraction. It's milestone-driven resource attraction. You attract resources, and then you exploit opportunities, reduce risk, and by that you attract new resources for the next phase. So that's more an approach we recommend for this, and it has to do with you have to use co-creation, but co-creation with self-selected stakeholders, not with representatives of stakeholders. So you have to put something into the commitment. That's the co-creation requires a commitment, and that was all. Thank you.